Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. This webinar, we're going to focus on how we can help you sort of optimize the sales to service delivery process and look to improve control over the project implementation through ensuring full visibility into sales, costs and benefits, resource utilization, and of course the profitability of projects and your organization. So before we get into detail, let's just do some introductions. My name is Steve Beaumont. I'm the regional manager for Innova Prime here in the UK and Ireland and the Nordics. And I've been working in this area for about 30 years now. It's getting a long time. I started off, I was a management consultant with both Coopers & Lybrand and Ernst & Young, and actually running a team of consultants myself, and facing a lot of the challenges that we're talking about. And the last 20 years working in the software industry, so working with software providers that focused on professional services organizations and helping them to try and address their needs in terms of improving their operational efficiency and driving more successful outcomes from the projects they deliver. And with me this afternoon, I've got Marco Batista. Marco, over to you. Just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Marco Batista. I'm the managing partner of Innova Prime. I've been also working in this type of market for a long time, for the last 20 years of my career. Basically designing and implementing this type of solutions across several companies globally. Okay, so I'm here today also supporting Steve in delivering this webinar, okay, where I will deliver the demonstration of our solution within this domain.
Thank you, Marco. Okay, so let's move on to look at some of the organizational challenges that we see with the professional services organizations that we work with and so on. I think one of the things to recognize is professional organizations today face a number of different challenges in an increasingly global and competitive marketplace. If we look at this slide, some of the biggest challenges we can see on here is a lack of control over the change requests coming in from the clients, during the delivery of services and projects. There's a real danger here that this can result in both revenue leakage and increased costs, reducing margin and so on. Another big challenge is poorly optimized or even non-existent management processes, which leads to operational inefficiencies. And that again drives extra cost into the organization structure. There's also a lack of visibility into the organization's needs regarding both resources and financial capacity. And this can lead to people getting shifted from project to project and disrupting. It's never good for the consultants that are working on the projects, and it's certainly not good for clients who suffer when that happens. And if we start looking at the execution of projects within an organization, the biggest challenges that we can see here are effectively defining the project scope, really making sure you've agreed with the client exactly what it is you're going to deliver and make that clear to the team that are delivering it. It's also about managing documentation and understanding which projects or customers really make the organization profitable. You really need to know which clients you should be focusing on, which customers you should be focusing on, and those that reduce the margin, make it more difficult, and those that really do help to drive profitability. And then when we look at key performance indicators here on the right-hand side, being measured within professional services organizations. Understandably, perhaps the main focus is on the benefit and the profit being achieved. With the operational execution of the projects also very high up on there. And the need for knowledge of customer performance, that's on there as well. So getting the right KPIs defined is crucial for professional services organizations. But I think it's important not to overdo it. Tracking too many can be very time consuming. and distract from the most important ones. So it's not about as many KPIs as you can identify. It really is focusing on those that are important for your business and your stage of growth and what you're trying to achieve as an organization. So to overcome these challenges, organizations really need to focus on having clear strategies for improving and optimizing their management processes and generating the right information to help them become more competitive and enable them to make strategic decisions for the success of the organization and to be able to do that more quickly. So moving on from the challenges, if we then start looking at the impact that can be felt throughout the organization. And I think it's very easy just to say, improving management processes. However, an organization's management processes are not easy to optimize. Collaboration between various teams is crucial. We often see several challenges as far as this goes. The organization's management of the strategic plan has insufficient follow-up on sales activity and also the delivery of services and projects. This makes it very difficult to keep track of what has been planned versus what is actually being achieved. There's also the impact of a lack of visibility into resource capacity and the resource allocation, which make it difficult to optimize the use of your people, really utilizing their skills and knowledge to achieve the best business outcomes is one of the most critical activities for a professional services organization. There can be disconnects between the sales team and the service project delivery team. This often leads to poor handover of new customers, which can cause real customer dissatisfaction if they're having to go over with the implementation team the things that they've already talked to sales about. And it also increases the costs of delivering the projects themselves. It can also decrease the potential to spot new opportunities for both upselling and cross-selling to those customers. Weak project controls due to erratic or poor quality information can often lead to delivery delays as well. And again, any delays like that will actually drive your costs up and potentially reduce your margins. And then on top of that, a lack of alignment between the finance team and top management can often result in financial status of projects not being current, not being up to date. So if things are starting to go off track and margins are being eroded, you can't see this. This can also lead to revenue leakage and impact your cash flow. So again, two things there that you really don't want to happen. So let's think about how our solution might be able to help you to resolve some of these issues. Now, our Governance.Business professional services automation solution, it really does cover a number of processes within your organization. Here you can see, win, deliver, invoice, and plan. Now, it's important to think about these. When you're talking about winning, it's about planning, rather. It's about the definition and monitoring of the organization's strategy through the creation of your business plans for the different business units and the monitoring of these based on the execution cycles and projects themselves. If we then look at the sales cycle and the management of that, you need visibility into everything that's going on in an account. Now, not just the pipeline, not just what the CRM gives you in terms of the pipeline, but also all the services that have been performed for that particular customer and their status, as well as giving visibility into financial indicators to understand the value being achieved by each customer. Then clearly, you need to have effective management of projects and services that are being delivered to ensure both their quality and also timely delivery within the focused milestones and costs, and look to optimize resources and margins as you're doing this. And then finally, around sort of the invoicing side of things, you clearly need to have strong management of expenses and that invoice process, having full visibility of the costs and the revenue for the organization. As I said earlier, managing the cash flow is always critical. So let's move on to the demonstration and start being able to show you how the Governance.Business PSA solution can help you address some of these process challenges that a lot of service organizations have. So Marco, let me hand it over to you.
Thank you, Steve. So within the demonstration, we will focus essentially on 4 big use cases. So covering the plan, win, deliver, and invoice domains. So essentially, we will start by showing you how you can create and monitor business plans of your organization, how we can define a business plan, how we can monitor everything related to that organization. So all the costs, all the benefits on the pipeline that we have on that organization, the different projects that we are executing with all the costs, benefits, margins, resources, and so on them. And then we will pass to a part of managing our sales cycle, how we can manage all of our accounts, all of the opportunities that we have within those accounts, what kind of visibility we can give to the account manager in terms of understanding their pipeline, the value of their pipeline, but also understanding whatever things are connected to their accounts. So all the projects that are currently running, all the contracts that we are currently executing, and so on. Then we will pass to the project execution. So essentially, when we close an opportunity, either we are going to execute that opportunity through a contract or a program or a project. What we will show in this use case is how we can execute that opportunity through a project. How can we plan that project? How can we allocate resources to that project? How we can control costs, define benefits, also manage all the activities related to that project. How we can also do expense management on that project. How we can do invoices over that project, and how all of that is going to then feed into the existing account plans or business plans, so we can have all of that visibility across the different accounts or the different organizations within our business. Okay, so let's then start with our demonstration. So I will then go into a live environment. Okay, and in this environment, basically our solution is all web-based, so you only need a browser to use our solution. There are different roles that we can use throughout the demonstration. I'm going to focus on using 3-4 roles to achieve all of the use cases that I have mentioned. And in this case, I'm going to first enter as a C-level manager, someone that has ownership of a set of business plans, and also wants to understand and monitor the organization and the business plans and how we are executing them. So once we enter in our solution, so our solution basically, when you enter in it, you go into a dashboard that will show relevant information for your profile. In this case, for this user, the relevant information is focusing on the different business plans that we have and indicators in terms of costs, benefits, margins that we have across the different business units, or even focusing on giving me an idea of the different customers that we have, the different margins that we have with those customers across the different organization units, or even understanding the type of benefits that are still planned to be realized and the ones that have been realized across the different business units. So understanding the total value that we have across all of them, or also understanding the pipeline value that we have across the different customers, okay, that we have visibility, and understanding that we have a total pipeline value of about $1 million and something. Okay, so looking a little bit broader or detailed into some of these business plans. So let's focus, for example, in a business plan of Portugal. Okay, so entering in this business plan, okay, we are able then to get into the detail of only this business plan, understanding the costs that we have, the actual costs that we already have. So we have planned a total cost of 360,000 euros for this year. Okay, in this organization unit, we have already realized 241,000. Okay, we also have planned the benefit of 600,000. Okay, and achieved a total benefit of 394. So many of this information is coming from either the projects that we are executing or the contracts that we are executing, okay, through the invoices and so on. Okay, so the first thing that we have is, of course, this planned cost on the business plan that comes from what we are planning, okay, in terms of costs or benefits on the business plan itself that we will do from scratch in another one. Okay, and then we can basically monitor the business plan, okay, in the moment that we are executing that business plan through the different pipeline that we are gathering on that business unit or the different projects that we are executing. Okay, so inside the business plan, we want to monitor the existing information based on the cost benefit margins of that business unit, also the margins per customer, so understanding the customers that are most valuable for this business unit and the kind of benefits, costs, and margins that I'm getting on those customers. Okay, also understanding the benefits that I have still to be realized per month, okay, within this business plan, or even focusing in the business plan in terms of the pipeline that I have connected to this business plan. So understanding all the opportunities that we have, okay, the value of those opportunities, the probability of those opportunities, the business line related to those opportunities and the total value per business line, okay, or even the sales funnel in terms of the probability of the different opportunities, or focusing on the top 10 opportunities that we have, the amount that we are talking about, also the account, the customer that they are connected to, and we can even drill down to the customer, understanding that from a customer perspective. Okay, so essentially all the information here is related, okay, and all the information is visible, okay, for the holes that have that visibility. Okay, so in this case, controlling all of that and understanding the pipeline that we have on that business unit is also very important. Okay, so we understand that, okay, we have only realized 50% of our benefits, but how much do we have in pipeline to understand if we are able to realize or not, okay, the total benefit that we have planned, okay, based on those opportunities. And not only focusing on the pipeline and understanding all the pipeline that we have for that organization, but also understanding then the different projects or contracts that we are currently executing within this business plan, okay, so within this organization. So in this case, we have different contracts that are active, okay, with planned costs, planned benefits, actual costs, understanding the margins that we have on or through the different contracts, but also the projects themselves, so what we are currently executing, okay, and the margins and so on that we have across each of those projects. Okay, so here we have then a full view from an organization perspective on what was our plan in terms of costs and benefits, the pipeline that we are managing and that we are creating towards this organization unit. And then, of course, based on that pipeline, based on the closure of those opportunities, the projects, contracts that we are currently executing, okay, and how they look like and the kind of margins that are involved and so on. So we have full visibility on all of these details, and we can even go further and go into a project in particular. So one of the use cases that I want to show you within this demonstration is basically creating a new business plan for a new organization unit that we have inside our solution, our organization, sorry, okay, and then seeing how we can detail that business plan, and then when we go to sales, how we can create different opportunities, so the pipeline related to that business plan, how we can then see that from the business plan perspective, and then from those opportunities create projects, okay, launch all the expenses, invoices, and so on, so execute the project and see how that will feed into the business plan that we've created, okay, right now. So basically doing a full use case, okay, instead of just using information that we already have, okay. So in that case, to create a business plan, what I will do is I will go to just the service catalog and going to strategic, and then selecting here a business plan that I can create, okay. So I will call it a business plan for Denmark, okay. The region will be Denmark as well. The start date, let's say that we were doing this from the beginning of the year, and then our business plan will be until the end of the year, okay. So the manager, we are going to select Abraham Alvarez, okay, so the person that is connected right now, okay, and this will be something for Denmark, okay. So once we create this business plan, okay, so we've just created this business plan in the solution, okay, so there are no financials yet, so we haven't planned anything yet in the business plan, okay. So the first thing that we want to do is start planning our costs or our benefits, so what we are going to try and realize, okay, for this organization for this year, okay. So we are going to go here to our business case and start detailing costs and benefits, so doing the planning part of our business plan, okay. So let's create then here a plan. Let's add a line, okay. So call it, for example, internal resources that we will have costs, okay, by hiring persons and having all of those persons working in our organization, okay. So in this case, let's choose a category, a subcategory like internal resources. Let's say that is going to be appear in euros, so we can select, of course, other currencies, okay. In this case, let's stick to euros, okay. So let's save it, and in that case, we will have here the line that we have defined, and then we can start planning, okay, for the different months, okay, the value that we, let's say, estimate to spend in internal resources. So we can also have marketing activities, so any other lines in our budget. I'm going to stick to one line to facilitate the whole demonstration. Okay, so let's say that we will spend about 8,000, okay, per month, okay. So in the end, we will have a 96,000 euros of costs, okay, for this business plan. So let's do the same thing in terms for benefits, okay. So let's go for our benefits and say that we are estimating to sell services, okay. And in this case, okay, let's just stick to the estimated. Let's say that during the first months, we won't be able to get any revenue, but let's say that we will start to have some revenue from April onwards, okay? So in this case, let's say that we will start having, okay, 15,000 per month, okay, until the end of the year, okay? So in that case, we've estimated 135,000, okay, for this business plan. So if we go to our business plan financial summary, okay, we are seeing that we have estimated a benefit of 135,000, okay, but then we have 96,000 for the planned cost. So we are planning a margin for the total year of 39, which represents a margin around 29%. So currently we have no information whatsoever in terms of margins or benefits to be realized, or even any pipeline or any delivery status, mainly because this is a brand new business plan. We haven't started detailing any of the pipeline, So, and also we haven't started doing anything in terms of projects and so on. That's going to be the second step of our use case. So then we are going to start entering, okay, as a sales, so as the next step, and seeing how we can start detailing opportunities that are connected to this business plan, and then seeing that on the business plan perspective. Okay, so going back to our presentation, so what we have shown until now is how I can control and define business plans. So doing the definition of a business plan, defining costs, benefits, how can I monitor the business plan in terms of my pipeline, my financial status, my projects and contracts that I'm delivering. So understanding all those indicators and also taking any action if needed based on a project that is not really delivering towards the margin that we were thinking, or a contract that is not really going well, or even understanding that our pipeline is too low for that organization unit. So understanding all of that information in order to take better decisions and improve, of course, the way that we are managing our organization. Okay. With doing all of this, essentially you'll be able to improve, okay, how you are monitoring the strategy and defining the strategy of your organization. So having more information means having the ability to take better actions, okay, in improving your organization efficiency, the way that you are going to market, your strategy on how you are getting your or optimizing your organization and driving your sales and projects and so on. So this will effectively be able to get your costs down, so to optimize the way that you are spending your money towards the strategic direction of your organization, understanding the benefits that you are able to realize or not, understanding what kind of resources you need to have on board to do that. Okay, also having full visibility on the pipeline means that you can analyze if all of the opportunities are going through a certain business line or different business lines, or if it's going through the strategy that you are defining towards your organization. So essentially having all of that visibility makes sure that you are going in the right direction and you understand how your organization is behaving, and not just imagining or having just a little information. It means that you aren't really able to understand if you are going to in the right path or not, or if it's something just that your intuition tells you that it's the right way to go. Okay, so as for the next step, what we will do is, since we have defined the business plan of our organization, what we will do is start seeing what we can do in terms of the sales management part, so our sales processes, okay, to understand how we can define accounts, how we can define opportunities within those accounts, develop those opportunities, okay, until we reach a point of closing that opportunity and becoming a project in execution. Okay, so for that, we will then focus on this part of the winning phase, okay, of our cycle, sorry, okay. And so let's go back to our demonstration. We will then log out of this profile, and we will start using a profile that is more related to sales. Okay, so focusing on a salesperson and how he sees things, okay, in the solution. So once we log on with this user, we are then able to see all the pipeline that we are developing in the different organizations, okay, and also the connection of that pipeline with the different accounts, okay, with the different customers or the different business lines, understand the number of opportunities per customer or per business line, or also understand the value of all the opportunities for a certain customer, okay, or focusing on the top 10 opportunities that I have, okay, within my within my organization, okay, or even just focus on the leads, okay, that I'm trying to work, okay, and the connection of those leads with the different business lines or accounts, okay. But let's say that I want to understand that I'm going to visit a certain customer, and I want to understand everything that I'm doing in that customer, not only in the pipeline perspective, okay, but also everything in terms of all the executions, all the contracts that I have, all the projects that I have, or even the value of that customer, okay, throughout the different organizations. So how much that customer has gave me this year, okay, the kind of margins that we are talking about, and so on, okay. So to do that, we can just, for example, use this drill down in this graphic to achieve it, okay, and going into that customer contacts, okay. So entering in that customer, okay, we are then able to understand, okay, the financials of this account, okay, this year. So what type of costs did I plan for this account? What type of costs I have realized so far, the planned benefits that I've done on this account, and the actual benefits that we have achieved, okay? And also then the planned margin, the actual margins, okay, which are then more effective here in terms of percentage. So here I can have an understanding of what this account means to me from a financial position this year, okay? So if I want to understand also in comparison with last year, so here we are comparing quarter per quarter, so having the quarters of 2019 across the quarters of 2018, okay, where we are focusing, okay, in planned costs that we had last year and actual costs, okay, and also the benefits that we had last year across the actual benefits that we have this year, okay. So with a simple way, doing it in a graphical way, or if we want to do it as totals, we can also have it as totals and not all per quarter, okay. So it's a decision of the user to decide how he wants to visualize this type of information, okay. But let's also then focus on other things that is not just the financials, okay. Let's understand the pipeline that is connected to this account, okay. So in this case, we can then analyze the different pipeline that we have connected to this account per business line, okay, for the different organizations, okay. Also per probability, to understand the probability of the different opportunities that we have in a certain stage, and the amount, the total amount of all of those opportunities, okay. So we understand if we are close to close a certain opportunity, or if we are still far away, or the probability of closing all of those opportunities, okay. So work with that to understand if we are going to get more business or not in that organization, within that customer, in the short term, okay. Or also focus on the different opportunities that we have, okay, for that account, so the type of value that we are talking about, the margins, okay, the expected close date, and so on, okay. Or then focus on the delivery, so understanding what I'm delivering currently within that account, so all the contracts that I'm executing, or all the projects that we are executing in that account. So understanding all of these details, because if we are going to go into a meeting with the customer, and if the customer asks for a certain project, I'm then going to be able to go into that project, understanding all of that information, okay, and already facilitate some of the answers without having to call somebody else to facilitate some answers, okay. So I will have full insight on that project in order to understand all of the details, and then we can have a sense of what's going on in there, instead of having that information elsewhere and then not really having all the details that we need in order to get some of those questions out of the way, okay. So within the use case that I want to show as well, within the sales perspective, is since we have created a new business plan, I want to start creating accounts related to that organization. And I also then want to start creating opportunities and manage that opportunity until I finalize it into a project, okay, for that newly created business plan, okay. So in that case, what I will do is I will create an account connected to that new business unit. So Denmark, sorry, Denmark. Okay. Let's call it ABCD Denmark. Okay. So I'm going to say that I'm account manager. Then we have some other fields that we can put in: the website, the fax, office phone. So all of these fields can be configurable according to the needs that we have in our organization to track more or less information, okay, across the account, okay? And then we just can create the account. Once we've created the account, we can access all the information around financials, pipeline, delivery status, okay? But in this case, we haven't got any opportunity or projects running in this account. So it's a newly created account. So what we will start doing is create then an opportunity, okay, for this account and track that opportunity. Okay, so for that, we can just go to our sales, to our service catalog again, go to sales and then opportunity. And in this case, we are able to start detailing an opportunity for this account. So let's give an ID number to this opportunity. Okay, the region is going to be Denmark. The name is going to be business optimization, for example. We can describe then this is opportunity is to design, is to transform digital processes of the organization. Let's give it a small description. Then we can just put some categories around this these opportunities. So for all the business lines that we have defined in our solution, okay, which are configurable, of course, okay, we can say, okay, this is connected to the business process management business line. So what kind of opportunity it is, new business, existing business, and so on, okay. Also, where did the lead come from? Okay, so from a conference, a campaign, an email, so whatever was the lead part. So let's say it was a direct mail, okay. And also informing the probability, okay. So let's say 10%, okay. Talking about next steps or opportunity estimated decision date. So when we think that this will be closed. So let's say this will be closed on the 20th of December. Okay, that's a guess. Okay, if we want to inform or not the opportunity amount again already. So let's say that we want to do that, and we say that we have an opportunity amount of 40,000. Okay, then we can start also putting some more data in terms of the opportunity manager. I'm going to say that I'm the opportunity manager, okay, and I'm going to be the sponsor. Sorry, the sponsor is going to be Abraham Alvarez, okay. And then the customer is going to be the customer that I just created right now, okay. And then we have the other information. Let's then just create it. I see that a field is missing. So let's create the opportunity. So once we've created the opportunity, the first thing that occurs is a ID, a unique ID for the opportunity is created. Okay, so if I go to another place in the solution, I can always use this ID in order to search for the opportunity, or I can use the name or the description to search for that opportunity, or then I can go to my workspace, my actions, and find the opportunity there, or doing just search, okay, and searching for this opportunity. So there are several ways of finding data, of finding access to what we are managing right now, okay. So what we want to show as well is the process that we have in order to manage this opportunity life cycle, okay, until we reach a point of closing the opportunity and creating a project. So in this case, we have a flow detailing that we are starting in a prospecting inside this opportunity. Then we can pass to value proposition. We can then talk about proposal and quotes, so presenting a proposal to the customer, okay, and having a go, no-go decision, okay, and eventually either putting it on hold, okay, having to review that proposal, or then just saying, okay, we have won the opportunity and we are going to start and want to create a project from it, okay, or project or a contract or a program, okay. So all of this flow will tell me who is the responsible to approve a certain step, to take a decision on a certain step of the life cycle, okay, and also where I am in the process so far, okay. So currently I'm in prospecting. So what I will do is I will see all the information that is here and see if I want to put in any more information that I have right now, okay. If not, then I just want to push it to a new phase, okay. So let's push it to value proposition. So here we then do a complete on the prospecting step, okay. And once we've done that, we'll go to what we call value proposition, okay. And if we go to our workflow, then we have completed this step, okay. Currently we are on the value proposition phase. We can see then on the execution details that the prospecting step was completed by Adrian Schutz, okay. Took 2 minutes. It started on this hour this day. It ended on this hour that day, okay. And the action was complete, okay. So we have full audit trail on who has done what, okay, on the process to make sure that we understand who took the decision and when it was taken, okay. So in this case, we are on value proposition. So we can start adding, for example, documents, okay, to this proposal, okay, so to this opportunity. So let's create then, for example, a new folder called work in progress, okay. And this folder, we will then store some documents in there, okay. So we'll upload a file, okay. Let's select a file here somewhere, okay. So let's select this as a file, okay. So saying this is initial proposal draft, okay. And then doing an upload of that, okay. So in this case, okay, so I have here then the file screen 1, okay. So in this file, we can just preview if we want to after a while, okay. We can also download the file. We can also detail, see the details of that file, the several permissions that we have on this file, if we want to grant permissions only to certain persons to touch this file and so on, okay. Also seeing the different versions of this document through time. So the different uploads that we had on the same document to understand all of the versions that we had and come back to a certain version and understand all the other information and so on. Okay, so then we have all of this way of managing the documents, okay, to make sure that we can have a full understanding of all the things that we have related to this opportunity. Another thing that is useful is what we call the discussions, the ability to create a forum, okay, discussions where we have certain topics, and then within those topics we are going to discuss different things, okay. So in this case, we can create, for example, a discussion of requirement analysis or requirements discussion, for example, okay, discussing the requirements of this opportunity, okay. And then we can have several persons, okay, that are contributing on these discussions and adding more comments with files and so on, so we can have a full thread, okay, of discussing the requirements. We can also, of course, create other discussions aside from the requirements, okay, so create extra discussions and have all of those things, okay, in just one place to make sure that we have all the collaboration of working in this opportunity, okay. Then the other things that we have across the opportunities, for example, telling who is participating in this opportunity in terms of who's managing the opportunity, how much time is going to take on doing that management, the analysts that are participating. So all the team that is part of this opportunity and the effort that we are estimating to have on all of those persons. Or even if we want to then plan the costs that we have in the end for our project or the benefits that we have for our project, we can start detailing all of those things to make sure that when we create a project from this opportunity, we will then have all of those details already created within the project. So I'm not going to show these two parts right now here because we are going to detail them fully in the project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this opportunity and get it into a status of we have a proposal in place and we will close then that opportunity to become a project. Okay, so I will basically advance in the workflow, okay, and going from this status of a value proposition, going to that status of delivery unit creation. Okay, so we can then create a project from this opportunity and start detailing all of these things. Okay, so for that, what we'll do is basically complete. Okay, so we've passed to proposal and quote. Okay, and from this proposal and quote, we say that we want to create a new delivery unit. So right now we are on the delivery unit creation. Currently, we have no actions that we can do at this moment. Why? Because the responsibility of creating either a contract, a project, or a program is given to the PMO part of the organization. So in this case, if we click on the step, we are able to understand that this is the responsibility of Abraham Alvarez or Paul Lynch that belong to the PMO, okay, team, okay, inside the organization. So to do that, okay, we will then go as, for example, Paul Lynch, and then we will see that in my workspace, my actions, I have all the actions that are currently pending of myself, of this user Paul, okay, that he needs to do an action on those processes. So in this case, here I have the opportunity on top, okay. I can either just click on the button and see here the opportunity and take an action already in this way, so with this format, or I can then just open the opportunity, okay, and the screens that we've seen so far, okay, see all the information that has been contributed by the salesperson, okay, and do something. So in this case, I have the ability to either create a delivery unit just to review or close, which are basically the different actions that I can take based on the workflow. So review, so go back to the proposal and quote, close without creating a delivery unit, or close by creating a delivery unit. So in this case, I want to take this part of creating a delivery unit, and for that, I'm going to go to details, and I'm going to fill in the details of what we are going to create as delivery. So the delivery type either is going to be a contract, a program, or a project. I'm going to select a project. I'm going to say that this will start in the 1st of November, and we think that is going to end in the 31st of December. The type of project, I'm going to select a time and materials project. Okay, there are different project types that we can choose. Okay, and then the project manager, I'm going to select Roger Manning. Okay, and with this information, I am then able to take the action of creating a delivery unit. And in this case, the proposal, the opportunity is closed. Oops, sorry. The opportunity is closed. Okay, and now I have here in the references my newly created project, okay, that I can go. Okay, so, and that will start then the execution phase of my opportunity. So we've closed the opportunity, and right now we are going to start and executing our project. So if we come back to our life cycle in terms of what we are showing in terms of use cases. Okay, we have just completed the part of the winning phase, which essentially we've shown how we can look and monitor our sales pipeline, how we can develop our opportunities, control all the costs, benefits. Okay, how can we track an account, understanding everything that we are doing inside that account, or how we can hand over the closure of an opportunity to the project phase. Okay, so it starts in terms of delivering of that opportunity. Okay, so in terms of benefits of all of these use cases, essentially having more information in terms of our pipeline. Okay, so having the full visibility not only on the pipeline of that we have across the different accounts, but also having the visibility on the projects that we are executing, or on the contracts that we are executing. It gives me a full idea of what I'm doing in that account. On top of that, it also offers me the possibility of understanding the value of that account towards the organization, because sometimes we are developing a lot of opportunities. We have, let's say, executed several projects or contracts or programs inside a certain customer, but in the end, the margins are very low, or are even non-existing, because all of the projects have been complicated, and we've basically wasted some money in delivering things there. So in the end, we have to understand if the value of that customer is really high enough to maintain the attention that we have on that customer, or if we should focus our attention on some other customers based on all of those indicators that we now have access to. Okay. In terms of the next use case that we will show, is essentially a combination, okay, of these two use cases. So the delivery and invoice. What we will do is we'll start with how we can plan a project, how we can execute a project, and then from that project, how we can get the different persons working on that project, how we can get all of those persons dedicating time to that project, also booking expenses, how we can approve those expenses, and also how we can invoice then the different benefits that we are planning on that project. Okay, so to do all of those use cases, we'll start out as a project manager. Okay, so we'll select this Roger Manning persona. Okay, and in that case, selecting Roger Manning. Okay, once we enter in the solution, the first thing that the solution will show me is a dashboard of all the different projects that I have in my hand that I'm managing, okay, with all the indicators. So either internal projects with all the information and all the indicators in terms of schedule, cost, resources, issues, and so on, or my customer-driven projects. So for all the customers that I'm, all the projects that I'm doing across the different customers, okay, and all the indicators, margins, and so on that I have on each of those in each of those projects. So if I look into this list, okay, I have here a project called ABC Denmark Business Optimization, which is the resulting project, okay, of the opportunity that we have closed. Currently, we have nothing in terms of schedule, nothing in terms of costs, nothing in terms of benefits, so no margins at all, because we haven't planned that yet. Okay, we could have planned that on the proposal part, on the opportunity, okay, but we've decided to show all of that inside the project itself. Okay, so looking inside this project, okay, so we then access the dashboard of the project, where we can have control on the status reports, the milestones coming from the work plan, financial information, resource information, the approvals that are pending, and so on across this project. Okay, so we start to putting in some information on the project itself. So we will start by detailing information around the costs, and then the benefits, and then adding some persons that are going to work on the project, and finally defining activities. So all the activity plan for this project, and assigning resources to it. Okay, so starting on the details, we see then here all the details, okay, coming from the opportunity that was the origin of this project. Okay, all the information that we've put in on that opportunity right now is in this project. So everything that we've put in there is currently being put here on the project itself, so we don't have to fill it in anymore. So that was already filled in the opportunity. Okay, so then we want to start doing the project financials. Okay, so we have to understand two things in terms of the financials. So one thing is the internal teams that we have, okay, that we are going to assign, okay, in our project, and based on those internal teams and hours, we will have automatic costs being calculated because of the settings that we have on the setup. Those settings can be changed, okay, but in this case they are active right now, which means that if I allocate a team member, that member will appear automatically in my budget. So I want to detail the costs, but the other costs that are not really just internal ones. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to create a plan, and I'm going to say, so external resources, for example. Okay, so labor and external resources. Okay, going to save it. And then in this case, I have the estimation for the periods of this project. So for November and December, okay. And then I'm going to select here that I'm going to spend 3,000 euros, okay, on this project, okay, for external resources. Then I'm going to plan the benefits as well. And in this case, I'm going to plan $20,000 of revenue per month. So if I look at my financials, I can already see that I'm planning a margin of 85%, okay, based on the information that we've put in, okay. But of course, we aren't including the internal resources, the team that is going to work as well in this project. So in that case, I'm going to go into the project team, and I'm going to start allocating resources that are going to work on this. So I'm going to say that Roger Manning, so the project manager, is going to work on this project, and is going to dedicate around 40 hours of his time, okay, across those 2 dates, okay. And I'm also going to include here another resource called Tonya Ho as a developer or any other role that we have, okay. And she's going to dedicate around 120 hours to this project, okay. So in that case, we have then put in those 2 resources with those type of allocations. And then if we go back to our financials, we will then see that we have, let's say, calculated, okay, the information, okay, which is too high, okay, based on the cost rates that we have, okay. We have calculated the information of how much does it cost, okay, having those resources. So I'm going to just increase here a little bit the benefits, because if not, then we'll have a business case that is going to be unfair, okay. So I'm going to just increase it a little bit, and I think this will at least give me a small margin, okay, on my project. So a margin of 18%, but it's still a margin, better margin than a negative one, okay. So in this case, I'm going to have a planned cost of 65,000 and a planned benefit of 80,000. So this is the planning part of financials and resources, okay. And now I want to also plan the activities that I'm going to execute with those resources, okay. So for that, I'm going to go to my work plan, okay. And once we create the work plan, we are able to start detailing the several activities that we have, okay, for this work, for this project. So let's say that we will have an analysis task, okay, and then development, and then tests and rollout. okay? And the analysis will take 5 days, 20 days, 5 and 10. And then I can start just defining here some predecessors and so on. So all of this is a drag and drop. I can define it there or there. So it's up to us to find the best way of dealing with this. Okay, it's pretty easy to add new tasks and so on. And let's then, on the analysis task, let's add Tony Aho as the resource, okay, that is going to work on this task. Okay, so this is all the details of the tasks that we have, okay, with all the estimated durations, percentage complete, remaining efforts, okay, if it's also auto-scheduled or not, all the predecessors that we have and so on, okay. But let's then see the resources and let's allocate Tony Aho as the resource that is going to work, okay. So for 40 hours, okay, for this task from this date to that date, okay, and do that allocation, okay. So she's going to work 40 hours. If we go to our task, we will see that the resources that are allocated is Tony Aho, okay, based on the tooltip. Okay, so right now, what we want to start doing is we want to enter as this resource and say, okay, I want to start working on the analysis task. I want to inform the percentage complete. I want also to submit time against this task, having that time approved and becoming a cost, an actual cost, okay? And also booking an expense against this project and seeing how we can approve that expense, and that expense becomes also an actual cost in our financial plan, okay? So essentially what we are going to do is we are going to show how all the resources collaborating in this project, they are going to book some actual costs into my project so we can understand all of that information. So in that case, I'm going to enter as Tony Aho. And as Tony Aho, I will be able to go to my workspace and then go to my tasks. And I will see that ABC, which is in the next page, okay? So I will see here the task, okay, that was assigned to me, okay, from that date to that date, okay? So I can just go in, see all the information of the task itself, fill in the percentage complete, fill in the estimated effort, put in any documents related to this task, any references, seeing all the resources that are working also are collaborating with me in the task itself. So seeing all of that information and putting some more. So let's say that I'm going to put in that I've worked 50% or that we've completed 50% of the task. Okay, we still have 20 hours, okay, as remaining to do the task, okay, and save it. So once we've done that, the project manager can already see the contribution or saying that this is already 50% completed and I still need 20 hours, okay, as remaining, okay. So the other thing that I want to do before going into the project management again, okay, is I want to submit the time, okay, associated with this task, okay. So I'm going to pick up here one of the timesheets. So let's look at this one, okay. And let's put it in a status that I can basically play with it. I'm going to add an item called analysis for the task that I was assigned to. Okay, so once we add that task, I see here ABC Denmark business optimization, the analysis one. The approver is Roger Manning, the project manager. Okay, and I want to say that I've been working in this task. Okay, so I see that I have just going to take some hours from there. Okay, so I will say that it's 8 hours here, 8 hours there, and 4 hours there. So I'm going to put 20 hours against this task. Okay, So once we submit it, we are then able to see that it's currently on the submitted status and it needs to be approved by this person. So currently what we've done was put in or have 50% of the task done, inform the remaining effort, submit a timesheet with 20 hours for that task. And we will see all of that information in the project once we enter in there as the project manager. But the extra thing that I still want to do is, since we have traveled to the customer site, I want to book some expenses for that. Okay, so then I want to go to service catalog. Okay, go to corporate and then submit an expense against that project. So that project is called ABCD Denmark. Okay. And then I can just create it and start detailing the travel expenses. Okay. So saying that on the 1st of November, I had some travel, okay, transportation. So let's call it a taxi, for example, okay, with 50 euros. Okay. So right now we have a line, okay, of total value of 50 euros, okay, for Denmark. And we can inform, so put in the documents with digitalization of the ticket and so on, okay, so we can have a fully digitalized process, for example. Okay, but let's then just submit it for approval. Okay, so this submission implies also a workflow. Okay, and in this workflow, so currently it's in pending approval. If we look at the workflow, we see that we've created the expense, submitted for approval, then the approver has to say yes or no, reject it or approve it, and then it goes to finance. And once finance does the final revision, then it's going to do the payment to the person, okay? And eventually, if it needs to be invoiced back to the customer, we will invoice it back to the customer. So once the finance team will approve and review this expense, then this will become an actual cost in the project, okay? So in this case, if the project manager approves, okay, it's not, it needs still the a financial department to look at it and say, okay, it's okay because we have all of the documents, okay, and we can then proceed to payment, okay? So completing this step, we will then go back as the project manager and see all of the information that we have currently realized as the project team member, as Tony Aho. So we'll enter as Roger Manning. In this case, we'll just go back to our project. So Denmark, okay. And if we look at our work plan, we will see that 50% of the analysis task was done, okay. If we enter in the task, since we haven't selected that estimated remaining effort, okay, let's look at the task itself, okay. We see that we have 20 hours of remaining effort left, okay. Then the other thing that we want to see is all the other things that have been submitted for this project, okay, so all the approvals. I can see it here inside the project, or I also could see it there in my actions, okay, where I have all the actions of everything that is related to this project, okay, or to other projects that I have, so my responsibilities. And in here I see a timesheet that I have 20 hours to approve for this project, and the travel expense, okay, with 50 euros of expense value to be approved, okay. So what I'll do is I'll just open this in two other tabs. I will first look at the timesheet, okay, and I have here then two lines that I can approve because this project is also under Roger Manning, okay, so that's why he can see both things. So I'll just select this one to approve, okay, and I'm going to approve then those 20 hours related to this project. So once I approve those 20 hours, okay, if I go back to my project, I will see that those 20 hours meant these actuals, okay, that I have here. Okay, so the recognition of those actuals based on the approval of the timesheet of the hours. Okay, so the next part is I want to look at the expense that was submitted, see all the information that was submitted. Okay, makes sense. This is something that we want to approve, that we want to reimburse the person. So we are going to then approve from our perspective this expense. And then it gets into a status of finance review. So finance has to still give the final approval before it becomes an actual cost in our project. So before we go to the finance part, okay, we also want to do, okay, is we want to start invoicing, okay, a benefit from this project. So we have here benefits of 40,000 in the project. We want to just generate an invoice, okay, for this project for that amount. Okay, so we are going to create then the invoice, okay, invoice for ABCD Denmark. And in that case, that entity is already filled in. We just need to select the financial line. Okay, so it's going to be then the services. Once we create it, we then have a table that we can select what type of benefit lines we want to put in. So if we want to put in expenses that were tracked against this project, or direct resource hours, okay, coming from the timesheet and so on, or just other information, okay, or other types of costs. We'll select other, okay. It selects automatically the services in November and the period, and we'll just put here the value to invoice being the 40,000 euros, okay, that we've put in there, okay. And then we will say this is ready to be invoiced, okay. So I still need to inform the payment terms, okay. And in that case, I've created an order to invoice, okay, which follows also a workflow, okay. Currently is in invoicing part, okay. So pending on the financial department to generate the invoice. So this could be, of course, automated based on an integration with the financial system, or even generating the invoice itself, okay. So in that case, it's in the invoicing part, okay, and financial team will pick it up, make the invoice, then wait for customer payment. And once the customer pays, it becomes an actual also in our project. So to just resume what we've done so far is essentially we've planned our costs and benefits of our project. Okay, we've allocated resources, we've planned the activities, we've allocated resources in those activities, and then from the side of the resources, we've worked on those activities, on those tasks, then submitted time against each of those tasks, okay, and also submitted an expense. Then we've came back as a project manager, we've approved the time, which in that sense would commit a certain actual cost in our plan, in our financial plan, and then we've also approved our expense and also approved or created an invoice. So right now, what I will do is I will enter as the financial team and complete the rest of this workflow, the rest of this process use case, which is approve the expense that is still pending, and also generate invoice and saying that we have fulfilled, or that we have received that invoice, to see all of those values being rolled up into the project and afterwards into the business plan itself. Okay, so in that case, I will just go into the financial person, so Amanda Mills, and looking at Amanda Mills, I will be able to see then in my workspace my actions, okay, the two things that I have here for approval. So the invoice that I need to take care of and the travel expenses from Denmark. I'm going to open these two into other windows just for facilitating, okay, the information. So here I have the travel expenses, okay, currently in financial review. I'm going to review all the information, seeing, okay, it makes sense, okay, everything looks good. So I'm going to complete this expense, approving it, okay. So it's pending payment for the person, okay, and I'm going to say, okay, we've paid, so everything is okay, and right now the expense is closed, okay. So we've completed the flow around the expense itself, okay. The other thing that we want to do is on the invoice, okay, which we have generated that invoice by Roger Manning with all the details that we see here in the table. So the 40,000 euros that we want to invoice, okay. What we want to do as the finance team, we want to say, okay, we've generated invoice 1236, okay, and we want to just put in the invoice itself, so we can facilitate that also to the project manager if he needs to communicate something with the customer, okay. So here's the digitalized invoice, okay, and we've completed then our part of generating the invoice, okay. Upon generating of that invoice, let's say that some time has passed, okay, and we have already received that invoice from the customer. So in the end, what we want to do is given it as received. So we want to close the invoice itself, okay. So this means that if I now go back to my project, okay, I will then be able to see the extra cost for the expenses and then the actual benefit from the invoice that we have created, okay. So if I go back to my project, I'm then able to see on my project from a financial perspective, the 50 euros based on travel, transportation coming from the expenses, okay, or on the benefits, seeing then the 40,000, okay, that were recognized from the invoices. So I have here a consolidation of everything that we have done on this project and saying that my actual margin based on actual costs versus actual benefits is currently of 81%, okay. And if I go back to my business plan, I will then be able to see all of that information as well, okay. So here in Denmark, okay, I see that I have recognized as well an actual benefit of 40K coming from the project. So if I go into the Denmark business plan, I see all of those details, okay, and I see that I have here a project that is currently ongoing with 81%, okay, invoice total of 40K, which in the end meant the actual 40K of benefit, okay. So in the end, completing all the life cycle of what we wanted to show. So just to summarize, so in terms of project execution, what we've done was we've planned our project, we've allocated resources, made those resources work on the different activities, submitted time, okay, seen the indicators, see how that time, by approving that time, that will become a cost. So managed all of that information, okay. Of course, with having all of this digitalized and automated means that we have more control on what is being really delivered, having more control not only on timelines, but also on costs, on benefits, on a scope, on risks that might appear and so on, okay. So we can improve the way that we are delivering our projects and make sure that we take the right decisions, okay, when we have risks affecting them, issues affecting them, okay. Then the last step was the invoicing, the expense management and invoicing part. So what we've shown in this area is how can I book an expense against a certain project, how we can go through the flow and approve that expense, and that will become an actual cost in my project. How I then monitor the costs and benefits of projects, how we can create invoices and manage those invoices into completion, okay, which in the end also improves the way that we are monitoring our organization, because everything that we are doing in our delivery part is also being rolled up into our strategic plan, which gives full visibility on everything that is happening. And if we need to then drill down into the details of where all of those costs, all of those benefits, how we are utilizing resources, so all of those things we can currently just with a click go into those details and understand everything that is being done. So this is what I wanted to show to you within this webinar, all of those use cases, how we can complete from planning to billing, so to invoicing in our organization, okay? And now if you want to do any questions, so if you have any questions around what you've seen so far, please feel free to ask them, okay? And we will be here to try and detail those for you. So Steve, I'm just passing that to you.
Thank you, Marco. No, that was excellent. That was really good in terms of being able to show how a truly integrated solution can start addressing some of those challenges that we highlighted at the beginning, and actually pulling together the different parts of the organization. So whether that be the senior executives in terms of putting together the business plan, the sales team in terms of finding leads, turning them in opportunities, taking them through the sales cycle, and hopefully closing them, handing them over to the project team to deliver and keeping control over that delivery, and then looping round to finance in terms of making sure that we're managing both the revenue and the expenditure, signing off on expenses, making sure invoices get out the door, and you manage the cash flow. So I think that really was a great demonstration in terms of showing the value of actually having that integrated solution across the company, and how you can enhance the management processes to really start to deliver better outcomes for the business. So thank you very much. I'm conscious that we're getting quite close to the time we're going to wrap up. One thing the question that was there was they noticed that actually when you went into the service catalog, it also included some of the sort of service support type area as well, Marco. Just give us a few words on that.
Yes, so the solution itself, so the professional services automation solution, and even the different other solutions that we have on this platform, okay, they have some other processes that weren't shown in this demo, such as having a full functionality around service management, so the ability for you to define services, contracts, so and then track incidents, requests for change, problems, and so on across those areas. Also having the quality management part available for you, so you can track requirements, track execution of test plans, execution of those test plans, different defects that you identify through those executions. Okay, so there are many other processes that we haven't shown in our demo, but are part of the solution. Okay, so for example, we have a knowledge base also in place. We have a full document management solution as part of the platform that can be used within the professional services automation part. So there are many other things that unfortunately we don't have time, of course, to go into those details, but they are part of the platform.
Excellent, thank you. Now I think it really does show it really is a full business management platform that can support all the different areas within your business. So appreciate it, Marco. Okay, well I think now is time to wrap that up. So thank you everybody for attending. I hope you found that useful, and hopefully we'll be in contact soon. Marco, thank you.
Thank you.